The sterile hum of the detention cell reverberated through the cold metal walls, the kind of hum that belonged to ships designed for interrogation. Arion knelt in the center, her wrists bound behind her with energy cuffs that seared her skin. Blood trickled from her split lip, a hot, metallic reminder of the brutality she was enduring. "Last chance, human," the Krill interrogator hissed, his mandibles clicking ominously. His exoskeleton glistened under the harsh lights, purple and scarred from a dozen campaigns. "Where is your fleet's staging point?" Arion, despite the pain, lifted her head and stared directly into the interrogator's compound eyes. "I told you," she spat. "I'm just a cargo runner. Wrong human. Wrong ship." The Krill's hand shot forward with lightning speed, gripping her left index finger. The snap of her bone echoed through the room like a gunshot. Arion screamed, her voice raw, primal. "But I won't break." What the interrogator failed to notice was the small figure hidden in the ventilation shaft above them. Lyra, barely 7 years old, watched every agonizing moment from her position, her small hands gripping the metal slats until her knuckles turned white. She didn't make a sound. Tears streaked down her freckled cheeks, but her gray eyes, eerily cold and calculating, never blinked. She memoized everything. The Krill's face, every ridge, every scar, the insignia on his uniform, the way he favored his right side. She watched, silent and still, as her mother passed out from the pain. The Krill called for the guards. "Take her to medical. Keep her alive. We'll try again tomorrow." As Orion's limp body was dragged from the cell, Lyra whispered into the darkness of the vent shaft a promise that would echo across the stars. "I'll start with 10 of them." 12 years later, the Retribution cut through the void of space like a blade slicing through silk. It wasn't the largest ship in humanity's fleet, but it was the most feared. Its captain was a ghost story the Krill told their children, a human demon who came in the night. Captain Lyra Arion stood on the bridge of the Retribution, her prosthetic left hand resting on the tactical display. The hand was crafted from Krill chitin, taken from her first kill, a grim reminder of her origins. Before her were the coordinates of a Krill detention facility, the same one that had broken her mother. "Captain," her first officer reported, "we've intercepted communications. Commander Vexthol is still stationed there. He's in command of the entire sector now." Lyra's expression remained unreadable, but something cold flickered in her gray eyes. "Good. Maintain position. We go in at 0300 station time." The attack was swift and surgical. Lyra's team moved through the facility like wraiths, neutralizing guards with an efficiency honed over years of training. Every member of her crew was like her, children of interrogation, orphans of war, humans who had learned early that mercy was a luxury the universe couldn't afford. Lyra found Vexthol in his command chamber. He was older now, his exoskeleton dulled with time. When she entered, he didn't immediately recognize her. But when their eyes met, recognition struck him like a hammer. "You," he whispered, his mandibles trembling. "The child in the vents." Lyra crossed the room slowly, each step deliberate. "You broke my mother's finger," she said coldly. "I memoized your face that day. Do you remember what I said?" Vexthol's hand twitched towards his sidearm, but Lyra was faster. Her prosthetic hand caught his wrist with brutal precision, crushing the joint with augmented strength. He shrieked in pain, the same sound Arion had made years ago. "I said," Lyra continued, her voice eerily calm, "that I'd start with 10 of them." She released him, stepping back. Vexthol crumpled into his chair, cradling his shattered wrist. "My mother survived your interrogation," Lyra said, her voice cold and steady. "She lived for 3 more years before the cancer from your enhanced techniques killed her. But before she died, she made me promise something." Vexthol's wide, compound eyes stared up at her, fists starting to creep in. What are you doing?" "I'm keeping my promise," Lyra said, pulling out a datapad and tossing it onto his desk. "Those are the coordinates and access codes for every Krill detention facility in 3 sectors. Every black site where you keep human cargo runners like my mother. Every prison where interrogators like you break fingers and spirits." Vexthol's eyes darted to the pad, then back to her. His voice trembled. What are you going to do? I won't kill you, Lyra replied. But I've already transmitted those codes to every human fleet in the quadrant. By morning, every human prisoner will be free, and your people will know that it was your facility that was breached, your security that failed. She paused at the threshold, looking back over her shoulder. The Krill High Command doesn't tolerate failure, do they, Commander? Especially not failure that cost them thousands of prisoners and intelligence assets. Vexthol's eyes widened as realization struck him like a hammer. True terror washed over his face. The Krill didn't take failure lightly. They dealt with their failed commanders in ways far worse than any human interrogation. The horrors of their punishment were well known, and they made human methods look merciful in comparison. Lyra's voice softened as she stepped into the corridor, leaving Vexthol in his terror. You started with my mother's finger, she said. I'm ending with your entire career, your honor, and whatever life the High Command decides to leave you with. If they leave you with one at all. As the Retribution pulled away from the station, Lyra stood at the viewport, watching the facility shrink into the distance. For the first time in 12 years, she allowed herself a small smile. It wasn't joy. She'd forgotten what that felt like. But it was satisfaction, the kind that came from a promise kept, a debt repaid. We're receiving transmissions from the other fleets, the first officer reported. The raids are succeeding. We estimate we'll free over 3,000 humans by dawn. Lyra nodded, her prosthetic hand unconsciously flexing, a habit she'd developed over the years. And Vexthol's Krill command ships are already on their way to his location. They're not sending a rescue team. For the first time in years, Lyra allowed herself a fleeting smile. The cub has grown teeth, she whispered to herself. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Lyra touched the small photograph in her pocket, a photo of her mother, smiling before the war, before everything went dark. 10 of them, Mom, she whispered. I started with 10, but I didn't stop there. In the blackness of space, the Retribution disappeared, carrying with it the legend of the girl who had memorized a face and never forgotten. The galaxy would learn what humanity had always known. Break one of them, and the rest will remember. And humans never forgive.